All right. So welcome everybody to session 2 of our Dream Big Book Club. We're so glad to have you here. I think we're learning a lot of cool things and really focusing on setting absurd expectations this week. We want ambitions that want you back because we want ambitions that want you back because that's where all the opportunity is, right? The growth and everything amazing lives at the edge of our comfort zone. We've all heard that before. So Bob is really encouraging us in this chapter to set absurd expectations. So we know it can be really tempting to talk ourselves out of dreaming big. Isn't it easier to just say, what's possible? No, that's not possible. That could never be. Less so I can achieve it, right? But we really need to dream big. Talking ourselves out of it makes it harder for us to burst through those walls of the box that we build around ourselves regarding our expectations and really go for what seems impossible. But when you dream big, it's important to imagine doing things that defy logic, that defy common sense, and that don't always jive with other people's expectations of you, right? We talked about those labels that people put on us. Well, it's like me, or that's not like me. It's not like me to own my own restaurant, or whatever your big goal is. Put all those things aside so that we can really stretch ourselves to set absurd expectations. It's much easier to look at the distance between where you are right now and where your dreams would require you to go. And we did those maps, and you see all those steps that were taken in between, and that's hard work. Too often we consider all those details and what will be required for me to open my own restaurant, for example. It just seems like it's just too hard, and that we just can't do it. It's crazy impossible, and the odds are all against us. But if you think your journey's too long to arrive at such a far off destination, it will be really difficult to even take the first step, right? So that's what he's saying. So dream big. Don't look at what's going to happen in the way. Just make it big for you. Set lofty goals. We all need to do that in all areas of our life. Dreaming big requires us to spend our practical ways of seeing things long enough to look beyond the logistics, right? And the limitations. And Bob says, what if you did have enough time? Remember, what if you did have enough time? What if some benefactor or some venture capitalist or some winning lottery ticket changed the whole financial picture of what you had? What if you did have the funding? What if I did have the money for the restaurant that I want to open? Right? How that can make it a really big reality simply. And we can't control those things, right? And they come to us when we least expect them. So if you want your dreams to fly, you have to look at the sky. That's what Bob says. If you focus only on all the reasons you're likely to fail, you'll keep your passion along with your imagination, your faith, and your actions grounded. Sometimes the key to dreaming big is setting absurd expectations, taking an honest look at your motivations, and then just stepping out in faith. And I've really been doing a lot of that this week, working on my faith. And this whole year I've dedicated to that. And I'm really open to receiving like what God has for me and asking him to use me for these big goals. What are they? Bring them to me. Let me see them without fear. Without fear. Just look at them and believe. So, to get us started this session, I want to know if you guys, because we have a great size group here for participation. So if you want to raise your hand, you can just raise your hand like this, or you can use a little icon in the reactions toolbar at the bottom to raise your hand if you want. But I want to know if anybody would be willing to share one of their goals that they've put down on their map or written in their notebook. What are your big lofty goals so that we can know and we can support you? You don't have to know how you're going to get there, but is anybody willing to share a goal that seems impossible right now, but you're kind of tinkering with the idea of setting that goal? Who's got one? Rebecca?
Yeah, just the big goal that David and I have been working on for a while is just becoming financially free. I mean, that's just, debt free, financially free, being able to give back freely, that kind of thing.
Oh, that's good. It's scary sometimes, right?
We have a big mortgage still.
And as a PhD, your husband, I'm sure he has a few education bills in the pile, right?
Hey, I will tell you that we paid off all his loans during COVID, and a lot of it came from my Shackley bonuses.
Oh, isn't that nice? Praise God for that. Yeah. Anybody else setting a big lofty goal, Tammy?
Yeah, I want to be able to write a $5,000 check to somebody every year. So whether it's a missionary or an organization that supports something, or a person whose family needs some cash or needs a car. So I would like to do that. Maybe once a year to start, and then maybe twice a year if possible.
Yeah.
So
That's a good goal, Tammy. Leslie?
yeah, it really scares me because it seems
Yeah.
like a lot.
Right. But when you give it away, it comes back tenfold.
Yeah.
Right?
So it feels comfortable. It feels good to have a goal that's like I really feel passionate about, but it really is going to stretch me because I have to earn it through Shackley.
Put those things in place. Tuck those 20s under your mattress. They all add up,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
That's right. Leslie?
I have a big audacious goal, and I know it didn't come from me, so I know it's from God, but I would like to be able to buy homes and fix them up and put homeless families in them to give them a start. And then as they develop, then they can start paying the rent. But to be able to take a homeless family and put them
Oh,
in
Leslie.
a home.
Oh, my heart is warmed up with that. Wow, that's beautiful. That's a good goal. There's a lot
That's
in the
fun.
way of that, right? That is a lofty goal. Good for you. Oh, wow. Okay, cool. Thanks for that. And I want to know if other people would be willing to share, anybody who's doing any work in the between session stuff. If you see on the Facebook group, I posted some of the questions and extra stuff that I have in the study guide to share with you to help you as you peel back those layers and do deeper diving. Does anybody have any feelings or reports or things they're learning or what they are liking, enjoying about what they're discovering between our sessions? Anybody can comment on that? And we have lost Suzanne Cheney, who's our next person. Did you notice that she's disappeared from the screen, anyone? Oh my gosh. I have to pass the baton to her. So anybody doing any work in between time? Leslie?
I did a
have,
little-
but I'm
did a little bit.
reading my notes.
Oh, yeah,
Go
you're
ahead,
next, Belinda. You're next, Belinda. So get your words together. Go ahead, Leslie.
So what I found was like a simple question that you think should take like 3 minutes to answer. Like I could be stuck there for a day. Like, so I had to put the timer on because otherwise I was just going and going, and it can go so deep.
Yeah, that's true. You know, Nicole and I were talking on our weekly call that this book is just nagging me, like in a good way. You know, I'm constantly looking at it. I don't put it on my bookshelf. It's sitting by my planner. I have it near my counter where I eat my lunch. And I'm always glancing over there, and it's always running in the background, like subconsciously, those thoughts and those dreams and what he's saying and stuff from the video. And I'm loving this book. And it's just like no other book that I've ever read. It's really interesting. So I feel you on that, Leslie. It's just constantly here. Oh, here comes Suzanne Cheney. Okay, and Belinda, what do you have going on with you? I know you're working hard up there in Minnesota.
Yeah. I gotta say one that I won't start crying.
Oh, you have so many good ones.
Um,
Don't you have to?
Look on the Facebook group, you guys. And did you post your map there, Belinda? I think,
Yes, I did.
yeah, because I know we've been communicating privately too, but I think the map is on there. She did a great job of reviewing her life. I was like so impressed with that.
Well, that helps me to remember. I'm gonna get emotional.
Okay.
So anyway, it helps me to remember what God has gotten me through.
That's right.
And one of the latest ones, just the year, well, my mother had, she had 6 surgeries or 7 hospital stays and 6 surgeries in a year and a half. And got her well, and a month later, my son had a motorcycle accident, went off a curb, and broke his back, his arm. And he got up, got in a guy's truck, and he took him to the emergency room. It was crazy. But that was the most growth in my faith I've ever seen. When I'm screaming out to the Lord in the ICU, and 2 minutes later, that prayer is answered. It was like, wow.
Yeah, that is emotional, Belinda. You see,
So
God
I
show
was-
up for us in our hour of need all the time.
Yeah, but I mean, and he insisted that I ride in the ambulance to the cities. And thank God they let me in. They were gonna helicopter him, but this storm was coming in. So they couldn't use the helicopter, so an answered prayer right off the bat. But it was that moment when you absolutely know you have absolutely no control. And I play that over in my mind almost every day.
Yeah, it's like the footprints poem, with the footprints on the beach, and it was really, you're like, where were you, God, when I was troubled? And that makes me cry every time I read it. Is that
Yeah,
those footprints were mine because I was carrying you, silly.
right.
Yeah.
But then I came back and I had, I was born with 2 heart defects and I had one fixed when I was 8. And I wasn't supposed to live to be 40 without surgery, maybe 50. I made it to 55. And I had to have my aortic valve. And it's a lot different having surgery when you're 8 and telling your mom to stop crying because Jesus is with me.
Right.
When you're 55 and you've spent 4 years taking care of other people, and you know that you need an advocate in that hospital or things can go wrong. I mean, anyway, so since then, though, I went back to my job, of course, the next year, and I had a rough year and a half until the anxiety was so bad I had to quit because of my heart. And it's crushed me. The place was abusive verbally, physically, and I'm really pulling myself up.
Well, I think you're
Get out
exactly
there
in the
again.
right place, though, Belinda. And this is exactly what you should be doing right now, is dreaming big and realizing the power of your faith and the power that you have within you and what God wants for you.
Right, but when people put you down, it takes a lot to learn how to be. I'm a blunt person, and people don't like that, and so it's hard for me to be blunt respectfully, I guess. So,
Mhm.
but that's where I'm at, and this book is like, yeah, I would rather be rereading and reading some more and writing than doing anything else right now. I mean, okay, I gotta quick post something for Shackley because I gotta
It's
get
supposed
back
to be
to
working.
my floors aren't clean, things like that.
But it's really good. It's really good that you're getting everything out of this. So pour yourself into this book and all the teachings of Bob Goff. And I'm excited to see what comes out on the other side for you. Really, that's amazing. Okay, Suzanne, we're going to go to you now. So we're going to read a little passage like we did last week with something afterwards, and then we'll watch that video. So if you need to get up and shut your video off and go to the whatever while the video is going, you can move around. It's all good.
You'll need to let me be able to screen share mine.
Oh, yes. I need to allow that, don't I?
Okay. So
Okay, you're in.
I'm gonna read the verse on page 23.
Suzanne, your mic is off.
So Pam, are we supposed to turn off anything running on our computer? Just so
Pam, you muted, Pam.
Did you guys, we're all technically challenged. Okay.
Together sooner or later.
I didn't have a problem with the video last week. Did you guys? I didn't think
No,
it was sketchy
no.
at all.
not at all.
Susan asked
Okay.
me about that afterwards. So I don't know. I closed down some of my browsers and stuff that I have open on my computer, big things
Okay.
like PowerPoint, things like that. But
Yeah.
no, I think you're good. I think the most important thing is to just mute you if you're moving around because we get that shuffling noises and we
Sure.
cough and we kind of interrupt. So no, just mute you and then you can unmute when you want to talk.
Okay, so
Let her
I
rip,
will
Suzanne.
start over since you now can hear
Since
me.
we didn't hear the beginning. Okay, good. Let her go.
Do not store up for yourself treasures on earth where moths and vermin destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up your treasures in heaven for yourself, where moths and vermin do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will also be. No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will devote to one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. Therefore, I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothes? Like the birds of the air, they do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than the birds? Can any one of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? You probably take some away. But first seek his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. So what do you think Jesus means when he says to store up treasures in heaven? Why does he contrast storing up earthly treasures with investing in heavenly ones? So to me, we store up a lot of stuff. You know, I like clothes, so I store up a lot of clothes. But last week was my birthday, and I had calls all day long from people telling me how much they appreciate me and how much they appreciated me sharing my knowledge of nutrition with them. I mean, I was on the phone literally all day long. I went to bed hoarse. And the last person who called me really got to me. We've known her for 40 some years. And shortly after we met her, she had breast cancer really badly. And it was touch and go, lots of infections and stuff. And I helped her clean up pus and stuff. And we helped her with our Shaklee knowledge and nutrition. And she told me that literally she knows she would not be alive if it wasn't for Steve and I and the help and Shaklee that we gave her. So I think that what it means to store up things in heaven. I mean, another pair of shoes, a new blouse in my closet really doesn't make me cry. But things like that, even when I repeat it to you, makes me cry.
It's really impactful, isn't it? When we think about storing up our treasures in heaven versus storing what we have here on earth. You know, I remember the T-shirts I used to see that said, "Whoever dies with the most toys wins." You know, right? No.
With a toy salesman shirt.
Toy salesman's T-shirt. So yeah, I love that. I love that story. I love that you were showered with all that love, Suzanne, because especially at this time, there's not enough love in the world. Like, you can't love people enough. So like, make that call and send that card, because tomorrow's not guaranteed. So I love that. All right, Suzanne, how are you now?
I'm good. That was just really a blessed birthday. The gifts you gave were priceless.
No, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
I can't see the screen anymore. I had to plug my power in.
Okay.
Do you know what I have to do to see
We can see you. Can you go in the lower left-hand corner where where it says video, the second thing over? Can you?
It actually came up to Zoom and how to do it. It didn't even come back to the meeting. Is that not weird?
Oh, well, can you?
You have the little Zoom icon on the bottom of your screen. Sometimes that happens at
Okay,
minimize.
got it. Thank you.
Francine to the rescue. Thank you. Okay, so we just want to make sure we're cognizant of where most of our treasure is currently being invested, and be aware of that. And how does that align with what's most important in our life?
Can I ask what verses those were for sure?
Yep.
Oh, let's see. I turned the page. I knew it was Matthew, but I didn't know which one.
Matthew chapter 6.
Yeah, 6:19 through 21 and 24 to 27 and 33. So if you read Matthew chapter 6, you'll get them.
Okay, thank you.
Matthew chapter 6, 19 through 21, 24 through 27, and 33. Thanks, Suzanne. Okay, are you ready with the video, my friend?
Yes, sorry, I had technical difficulties, but here
Nope,
we
it's
go.
that kind of day.
Yep.
Onward.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm glad you're here. And remember last time where we left off, we were talking about questions about who are you, where are you, what do you want? Talked about authenticity, and this would be the ground rules. If you're gathering with a group of people, make this a place that's just really safe. No conversations about what you're talking about end up somewhere else. This is just the one safe place. It's like Switzerland, like where nobody's mad at them, get a bar of chocolate and a bobsled. This is a safe place for you to just do some business. What we're going to talk about today is exploring opportunities. Every year, what we do is it's time to dress up the Thanksgiving table.
Pam,
And so
unmute me.
what we are a little thin on in San Diego is leaves, because we have palm trees. We're awesome on Palm Sunday. A little thin at Thanksgiving. We happen to be on the East Coast. And Maria sent me out with a basket. She said, go get some leaves for the Thanksgiving table. I'm like,
Pam, can you unmute me?
You are unmuted.
Okay, can you hear it? You're
No.
here. Can you hear it?
No, not right now, Suzanne.
No, I stopped it, but I didn't think you could hear it because I was muted. Okay,
I'm your guy.
can you
So
hear
I
it?
went out.
Yes.
Maria came to check in on me about a half an hour later. I hadn't picked up a single leaf. Do you know why? There were so many of them. And I think that's the way it happens with our ambitions. Sometimes you have so many ambitions, you never end up just picking one. Could you just pick one? Take a knee, take two knees. Don't sit in prayer about it. Grab one of these God-given ambitions of yours and take this thing out for a drive and see what happens. Well, what we need to do is explore opportunities to get there. And what I want you to do is only take your ambitions that are worth it out. What I want you to do is start by identifying what they are. Make a list. Write down, these are all of the ambitions that have come to mind without doing any filters on that thing, just all the ones. And then what I want you to do is vet those ambitions. What I want you to do is take these ambitions and say, are these ambitions that are going to actually last? Are these things that I want now, but they actually come from a weird place? What I'm looking for is really validation from other people. I'm trying to be popular, or I'm trying to, none of that stuff's going to last. To say, this is the ambition I have. I have an ambition to have deep and meaningful relationships. I want you to get really specific about these ambitions. What if you wrote down, like, I want to be happy? That's awesome. Good for you. I do too. But I would say, let's drill down on that and say, what does happy look like? Does that mean making $1 million? Maybe. Does that mean giving away $2 million? Maybe it's that. Does it mean getting a puppy? I don't know, get 3 of them. But figure out what it is that you want, vet that ambition, and then start going it up. And what you can do is put your one ambition up against another ambition of yours. But don't you dare put your ambition against somebody else's ambition, right? Sweet Maria tells me all the time, keep your eyes on your own paper. It worked great in school, but it works even better in life. God made you to have your ambitions. I want you to take a knee. I want you to pick one. I want you to vet it against what Scripture says. Are these the kinds of ambitions that Jesus said would outlast you? Don't pick it because it sounds great. pick it because it's actually something you want, and then put it up against some of your other ambitions. And I would just go with the one that's up on top. Just start. Don't keep making all these plans, because plans aren't going to get you to the feet of Jesus. And a bunch of activity may not get you there either. It's a life filled with purpose and with passion and with engagement and doing the things that Jesus said would be the things he'd want to talk about. I had a first ambition ever, and it was to go on a date. I was in high school. It never happened. I mean, I was up for it. It just like there were no takers. I had a second ambition. It was to have $100 because I didn't have any, like maybe $1 or $2. But I thought if I could have a date and $100, then I would have found the cheat codes for life. Well, in the same week, it turned out I got a job selling hot dogs downtown, and I made $100. The same week the prom was coming up, I asked Paula, will you go to the prom with me? And you know what, you guys? She said yes. Isn't that crazy? I had $100. I had a date for the prom. So I went to the tuxedo shop. I rented a tux, spent most of my $100. What I did with the rest of it, I got a limo. I went in halves with another guy. So we got this limo. We said, you know what happened the next day? Paula said she got another offer from someone more dashing than me, which is actually everybody. And so there I was. I had a tuxedo I couldn't use. I had a half a limo I couldn't use. And I had all the doves that I expected would fly out. You can't pan fry those things. So what I would do, I had a beautiful ambition and it all went away just like that. That's an example of finding ambition that'll like pass the test of time. Is this thing gonna outlast you? And certainly have a couple small size ambitions, or you can go Starbucks on it, tall, but also have some grande ambitions. Have some ones that are vintage, some that are like big. Let me talk about the small ambitions. I want to learn how to skydive. So I just did. You just show up, you jump out of the plane, there you go. Jump out of the plane enough times, you get a license. That would be a small ambition. And it's something that's really quickly done, particularly if the chute doesn't open. The second ambition I had was to learn how to scuba dive. I want to learn it. You just get the wetsuit on, which is no small task with me. And then figure out where the snorkel goes and just jump in the water. That's a small ambition. I have some medium-sized ambitions. I wanted to write down some of the things I was thinking so that these stories could be passed on to my kids or great-grandkids, people that I might not meet. That took a little bit of spell check and a little bit of time. There was a medium ambition. I had some huge ambitions. Wanted to find some kids that were in these war-torn countries and to give them a shot, particularly women. And if you're a woman, can I talk to you for a second? And to say, would you stop asking men for permission for you to go live your life? Like, would you like raise your voice? Let people know what your ambitions are because they're worthy, they're good, they're worth it. We need to hear from you. And so want ambitions that want you back. And that's where an opportunity comes in. Vet your ambitions. That means like saying, is this thing gonna last? Or is this something just that's a distraction for me? And then evaluate, put your ambitions one against the other. I spoke at a place and there was this band before me, and I don't know about you guys, but I don't look at the guitarist and all that. I look at the drummer. And this drummer had a fire engine red set of drums. He looked like a boss, and I wanted to look like a boss. So the next day I went home, I drove to the Guitar Center, and they have a room that has like 100 sets of drums in it, and I wanted all of them. Old Bob, I would have thrown the credit card in the front and started loading the drums in the back of the car. But new Bob has changed. Instead of trying to look like a boss, I want to play like a boss. And I think part of vetting your ambitions is to say, where's this coming from? Am I looking for validation? And if you want applause, join the circus. If you want Jesus, join in the ambitions that he said would outlast all of you, the kinds of things you'll be talking to him about forever. And then look for an opportunity. Well, one of the things that will happen, these opportunities, they come by. And if you're not looking for them, they just pass just as quick. I got a call from a guy who asked me, Bob, what's the one thing about relationships? I'm like, buddy, you haven't had a girlfriend, have you? Because there are actually many things about relationships. I see you nodding. It would be like asking an astronaut, Like, what's the one thing about getting to the moon? And you're like, I don't know, arrive? But if I wanted to get to the moon, what I'd do is I'd spend a ton of time finding somebody who'd actually launched a couple rocket ships that way. I wouldn't spend any time with people who are going to argue about what color to paint that thing. And I'd spend a lot of time figuring out who's going to be in the capsule with me and who's going to be talking into my ear. And I want you to as well. I think this idea of getting to your ambitions is to figure out the one thing that you're aiming for and to particularly aim for that. If I wanted to get to the moon, you know what I do? I get the moon in the window and I keep aiming for it. It'll take you 1,000 mid-course corrections. And as you're pointing at your ambitions, I want you to be really picky about who you're surrounding yourself with. Find some people that have launched a couple good ideas that actually worked rather than exploding on the tarmac. What I want you to do is find a couple people that aren't going to argue about what color to paint this thing. And I want you to be really picky about who's talking to your ear and who you're in the capsule with. If we get that thing right, we get Jesus in the window and you just keep pointing at that thing, that's where your ambitions go from like carving a new groove to Grand Canyon. You vet these things, you compare these things, not with each other, but with these beautiful and difficult things Jesus talked about. One of the things I learned how to do this past year, learning how to fly a helicopter. What a bad idea. They said just hover over the numbers. It was the just part that was hard. I started drifting off to the left, so I went way to the right. And then I went way to the right, I went way to the left. We weren't even in the same zip code anymore. What the guy said is this, what I want you to do is make about 10 movements every minute, but all the diameter of a quarter. When you're aiming for your ambitions, I want you to make a lot of small movements towards it, keeping Jesus in the window, knowing who you are, where you are, what you want, being real with some people around you, being picky about who's talking to you, not getting distracted about what color we're painting this thing. And if we get that thing right, we get everything right. And then when these opportunities come, jump on them. I knew I was going to be speaking in London. It was May 14th of last year. And I was so excited to go, but I thought, what if I write to the Queen? So I wrote her a letter. It'd be pretty easy to write the letter. Just Google the Queen. You don't even have to put in her first name. They'll know who you're talking about. I said, I'm going to be in London on the 14th. If you're in London on the 14th, I mean, let's hang out, like pinkies up. A week or two later, I got a letter back from one of her ladies in waiting. I'm like, lady, what are you waiting for? She said the Queen is terribly disappointed she can't meet with you. I'm sure it just tore her all up. But here's the deal. For one envelope in a buck and postage, I'm talking to Buckingham Palace, I went for the opportunity. I tried to do it. I want you to take your ambition, vet it, ID it, evaluate it, see if it squares with scripture, get it in the window, keep pointing at it, lots of little movements.
And Susanna paused.
Yeah, how come? It's a good question. Hey, Stephen, pause. What do I do? Oh, it paused. Oh, here we go. Hang on. Let's see if it.
Looking for him, you're going to find him, and you can make
I
some of
figured it
your
out
own
myself.
opportunities. I'm going to close this section
got
with this story. When my son Adam was really young, we were in the pickup truck. This is 15 years ago, and he had the sniffles. I said, Adam, there's no way you could be this sick and us not tell the president of the United States. And he's like, what? Here's the phone number for the White House. It's 202-456-1414. I don't care if you like the guy or not. Presidents change, phone numbers don't. So I dialed the number, put it on the speakerphone. It started ringing. And this woman answers the phone. She said, White House. And I was like, Dad, you're nuts. He said, hello, it's Bob Goff. I'm here in the pickup truck with my son, Adam. He's got the sniffles and he feels really sick. We'd like to tell the president. And she said, one moment, please. And Adam's like, what the heck? And so now he's like kind of sitting up in the chair, and this other really nice woman answers the phone and she says, White House. Said, it's Bob Goff here. I'm with my son. He's got the sniffles. We don't know if he'll make it through the day. We just wanted to tell the president all about it. And there's this long pause. And she said, oh, Adam, how you feeling, buddy? And by now, Adam's like standing up in the chair next to me. And he says, like, You know, I'm feeling pretty good. You know what happened? This woman got it. There was a dad. It was with his kid. The kid wasn't feeling very well. But I'm telling you, make the opportunity. Zechariah 4. God delights when you take the first steps towards him. How many of you seen a baby take their very first step and say, like, I've seen better? Of course not. You're like, this is awesome. God sees your ambition. He's seen everything about it your whole life. He wants you to shuffle your feet forward. He wants you to dial the number. Don't make a list. Make a call. Write the queen. Do whatever. But don't play ding dong ditch with this stuff. You're not playing with these pranks with God. What you're doing is you have an ambition. Make a couple of calls. Let's move this thing forward and see what happens. So here's my question for you guys to discuss. What's your next move? Who are you going to call? What are you going to do? Who are the people you're going to surround yourself with? Who are you going to stop having talking in your ear saying it ain't going to work anymore? I'm not saying throw them under the bus. I'm just saying get them out of the capsule. And if you figure out that, then your ambitions, these absurd expectations, will meet a beautiful opportunity and you are on your way.
Great. Sorry for all that trouble. We had a
Isn't
little,
that, it's so funny. Call the queen. I'm going to be in London to stop. Maybe we could get together.
it is fearless.
You know what? Because of that, so Andy Reid, he's the coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, and his son's having some trouble right now. You probably saw it on the news.
Yep.
I wrote him a letter just to say, you know what? I don't know what's going on. It's none of my business, but I just want you to know I'm praying for you and I care about you. And we all have troubles with our families, and you know, just hang in there and send everyone our best. And who knows if he'll read it, but you know, I mean, it's so funny. At the end of last year, I was thinking about my word for the year, and I really don't do words for the year. For one thing, I have a bad memory and I forget what it is by the middle of January.
Write a note on your window, on your mirror.
That would be a good idea. But so I was thinking more about like how I wanted my life to look. And I'm a fairly new Christian, just within the last 5 years. And I feel like I gave God control of my life, but I also know I really like comfort and I like control. So I said, okay, God, I do trust you. I'm getting out of the way. You have full reign to do whatever you want to do in my life. And, you know, I just pray for ears to hear you and the bravery to follow you, because I trust you and I love you. And then all this stuff happened in our family. And it's been really hard, but it has been so amazing because I have this peace that there's no logical explanation for it other than I know Jesus has his hand on my shoulder, our family's shoulder. And I see so many beautiful things that have already happened and so many opportunities that I believe are going to happen at the end of this whole thing. And it's not a coincidence that, Pam, you invited me to this book study. You know, I read the Bible every morning and I have another devotional, and the Bob Goff book and the Bible and the devotional, they're not related in any way. They're all saying the same message. I mean, several times a week, I'm hearing the same message. And I believe that's God talking to me, you know, because that's what I need to hear on that day. So anyway, that's my big ambition, is just to really keep journaling about all this and to step out in faith. And I have some ideas about how that can look and how that can help other people as well, because this isn't about us. You know, this life is about others and serving others. And so I'm terrified and excited at the same time.
It will work out. You're the best partner you could ever have.
Amen, Francine. I'm glad you're here. And that's all the truth right there. There are no coincidences.
Right.
I've traveled that road and I had to turn my son over to God. That was
Yeah.
difficult as all get out. But kept the faith. And now he is a wonderful person. He's actually the media director of a large 2-campus church in California. He's married to his wife, who was an atheist when he met her. He's turned her into a Christian with his journey, and she is the worship director for the church. So she takes care of all the music, and Mark takes care of all the recordings and the, whatever he has to do to make it work and show all over the world. But I had to turn him over to God because I just couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
And he
It
did a
worked,
good job.
right? And it worked. Surprise.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, it really helps you grow your faith.
absolutely.
Yeah, we're so blessed by this community together that we can share these things, and it's all flowing right through some of the discussion questions that you have, Nicole, that we wanted to cover. Just a couple things today, but it's almost like we have some live examples in here of exactly what you're talking about, like pouring your trust and your faith in God and Jesus take the wheel for real.
Right. No, absolutely. And Francine, that goes into one of our assignments of dreaming today. And it talks about sharing a big dream that you have. So as Bob talked about, we might have lots of ambitions, right? But focusing on an ambition that is right for you, right? And that you want to pursue. And I like his analogy of staying within that quarter when you're driving a helicopter, right? Because it's easy to go over here, left, right, and get bounced around. So one of the questions in the discussion that he suggested we talk about is, what is the off the wall dream that you've been harboring, like that has been in the back of your mind and you haven't pursued? You've thought about it, but you haven't done anything about it, right? So take a moment and think about what that might be for you, because everybody's obviously different. And then you could write it down, because I'll ask you if anybody wants to share this, but then think about what inspired that. What made you think about that? And why do you want to do it? Maybe it might be an easier question. And Francine, you touched on this and then what scares you about it? So what inspires you about it to pursue it? And it has to be a strong inspiration for you to pursue it, right? And Bob talked about that, because if there is not depth in that, then you're not going to do it. So it's got to be something that really inspires you. And then what scares you about it? And which, in my mind, that kind of reflects to what's holding you back from it, really, right? Why aren't you taking those steps forward? Because that scare. And it could be maybe you're going to succeed at it. And I'll just share one of my big dreams that have been in the back burner for a long time, probably 5 years, is writing a children's book about eating vegetables. And I had it, I have all these ideas that I want to do in the back of my book, in my back of my mind, and I haven't pursued it. And I mean, I see my kids, I substitute teach in the school, and I see what these kids eat. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how can their brains work? Like literally these kids are eating junk, and then cafeteria serving them junk. Like, how do their minds work properly? Right. And so I want to inspire these children and the parents that it's cool to eat vegetables. It's cool to eat fruit. I want them to sing songs about it. I want them to be inspired about it, right? And that's in the back of my head. My fear of that is that, what if I succeed? Like, how does that change my life, right? Because I see myself traveling and going into schools and sharing this book and sharing the song and inspiring them across the nation, right? So if I succeed at that, wow, that's kind of scary to me. So I think
You
that's
have to
kind
go
of
on tour, right?
So you can go on tour and take your kids with you, and they can see the country.
There's some
That's
good in
right.
it.
Absolutely. Does anybody else want to share maybe some one of their dreams that, or with the along with the inspiration and their fear of it? I mean, some of you already shared, but you haven't shared your inspiration or your fear around that.
Well, I can share I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. I had a very good job position at the Environmental Protection Agency in the Human Studies Division. I ran a lab there. But I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. And my mother was in Shaklee. That's how we knew about it. And she was making more money than Steve and I put together with her Shaklee business out of my bedroom in California. But Steve and I were shy people. We didn't know how to talk to each other, let alone some stranger about Shaklee. You know, so it was a big fear for me to turn loose of that big fat check I got every 2 weeks. I mean, that was a huge fear because we needed that money to maintain our mortgage payments and our lifestyle that we were accustomed to. And so Steve made me a bet because when I started my Shaklee business, I was the shipping department and the warehouse and the bookkeeper and the bonus payer and all of that. And we had to buy a case. If we wanted 1 unit, we had to buy a case of whatever it was. So it wasn't like an easy peasy like it is today. And so Steve said, and we were coming home and I was calling after work. I was calling people. I was taking their orders. I was packing orders. I was doing all the bookwork associated with orders, you know, working hard at night trying to develop this Shaklee business. And so Steve said, all right, let's make a deal, because we were both wearing ourselves out, even though we were taking our vitamins. He said, we'll put away what you earn from the Environmental Protection Agency for a year, and we'll live on what the professor makes, which isn't a whole lot, tell you the truth. I've made 50% more in my Shaklee business than Steve made as a full professor in the med school at UNC. So that aside, so the deal was that we could survive on my Shaklee income and his professor income and put all the other earnings from the Environmental Protection Agency away. And so we did that for a year and our business grew, even though we had a hard time. You know, we didn't know people. We had no people skills, no communication skills, no business skills. And so we had to put ourselves out there. It was not easy. It was difficult and fearful. But look what I have gained by, you know, all these friends, like all these pictures of people on this Facebook. I would have never known you ever. You know, Pam has become like my sister. I would have never known her if it hadn't been for a pen at a meeting, in a Shaklee meeting in Chicago. You know, he's helped me out. I've helped her out.
Yeah.
And the EPA never gave me a car. They never gave me a trip to anywhere. They gave me all kind of pain and worries because it was the PhDs against the MDs, you know, and all this stupid infighting and ridiculousness. And with my Shaklee business, you know, I've been successful. It wasn't easy. It was an uphill battle, but, you know, the rewards have been huge.
Wow.
If I'd have given up on my ambitions, I'd be living on Social Security probably. And what diddly squat, I don't even know if I would get Social Security since I was working for the government. I don't know how that all works, but it wouldn't be as good as my Shaklee income every year.
We learned to talk to
That's
Steve
awesome.
along the way. See?
That's an awesome story, Suzanne, because it's true though. Like if you could have stopped at any point, right? And if you didn't set those dreams to move forward and, you know, with your incomes and where would you have been today? Right.
Yeah,
So
it's been scary, you know, it's a little bit of retirement from I mean, we literally get more from the Shaklee business than Steve gets from retirement.
Yeah.
I believe that.
It's
That's
and
really great example.
he had to work, you know, he was working 80 hours a week.
Yeah.
I was working 20 and having fun. But
Right.
what most people call work, I mean, you know, fun, like taking someone out to lunch and talking to them about Shaklee or whatever. I was doing that for work, you know, And once in a while, I go back to the people at the Environmental Protection Agency that were in my lab, and it was like Negativeville concentrated. Everybody was at everybody's throat. It was, I quit going because it was just a bad. If you have any way to make Shaklee your ambition.
Okay, you inspired me to do some follow-up today.
Yeah, follow-up's the key.
Well, this is Coletta, and I can just share a little bit. Can you all hear me?
Yes, Coletta.
Okay. The fear that I had was many years ago. And that was to quit my job. I was already in position. I had a career, as a registered nurse, ambitious to be maybe an administrator in the hospital. I worked 2 jobs to, gonna get emotional. Sorry. I worked 2 jobs to become the nurse. I didn't have the money as a child to just get an education. My parents didn't have it. So I accomplished that. And then when I got married and my husband was praying, and I didn't know he was praying, that he wanted me to come home. I wasn't looking for a business. That was not my desire. And, but it got hard for me when I was taking care of my husband, taking care of my mother, taking care of the children. My dad was sick with cancer. And I was just stressed at the job, and they were lacking in what needed to be done for them. I didn't know Shaklee was going to come along, and it did through a friend. And so I was like, wow. And I said no several times. You all heard my story. But this was a time in my life that I can say that when I prayed and I asked the Lord, Shaklee had come into my life. That was his plan. I didn't know what his plan was. And when it did, it allowed me to experience a life like never before. I got closer to God. So I understand what you're saying, Francine. That was a time for him to speak to me, for me to grow. And so what happened in my business was it became different. It wasn't like Shaklee as this multi-level marketing thing. It became different because I was the owner. I could do what I wanted to do. And what I mean by that, I shared the gospel of Jesus Christ. I'm just letting you all know, I never told this, but I shared the gospel through my business. When people would call me about Shaklee, guess what? I would share with them, the products are good, but God uses these products to do what he wants to do through them. So my mission statement became John 10:10. I came that you might have life. And that you have it more abundantly. Physically, spiritually, financially, and environmentally. And the scripture that God gave me that I held on for over 25 years, you walk by faith and not by sight. 2 Corinthians 5:7 is embedded in my heart. And I've held on to it for over 25 years. It's on, I have a goals board, it's there. My statement of my mission statement is there. That's who I am. When I got with this book club, I was like, what? He said, talking about the faith, talking about being bold. I've been bold in so many ways to step away from what I wanted to know what God wants and the plan he has for me. So he's given me a book a journal. When I got the journal this year, it was about, I know the plans I have for you, not to harm you, but to prosper you and to give you an expected end, to give you a hope from Jeremiah 29:11. And I've held on to that too. So I believe my mission in Shaklee is to, not only just to share help, but also to give them an opportunity to know the Lord like I do. And I don't press it because I know it's a bit, you know how the companies are, you're going to talk about God, but I can do it in my company in Haskin Enterprises. So that's what I've done for over 24 years. And so many people have come to know the Lord. So many people have come to know the hope that maybe they didn't have. It's a different type of business that I've had for over 24 years. And yes, you're going to have obstacles. Things are going to come in your way. And Francine, I had to ask the Lord the year before to give me peace. I couldn't understand it. I just said, Lord, give me peace that surpasses all understanding, because my mom was sick and I couldn't be there with her. And so the Lord, what I want to say last year, before this 2020, this COVID thing, the Lord allowed me to be with her for 3 months because of the business. I could take it wherever I wanted it to go and still share Shackley. So I'm just saying that, sometimes we don't know each other's stories, but when you get a chance to build a relationship with one another, you'll see that it's deeper than this company. It's about relationships. And just like Suzanne said, I wouldn't know any of you if I was still working in that little hospital in Chicago, Illinois, and holding on to that dream. But the dream that the Lord has allowed me to experience, it's been like never before. I can't even express all that's in my heart for what Shackley has done, what the people have done, the relationships that I have, the lifestyle that I have. That job, Suzanne, would never give me a car or send me on a trip or even have, I'm going to say, my name is all over the world. I haven't even met some of these people that will walk up to me at the conference and say, oh, we love you in Taiwan. Really? I haven't been to Taiwan. So those are the things that I've experienced through Shackley to give you hope. If you don't have hope, then I can do that because of the experiences that we have had. So I just wanted to share that real quick because I know our time is kind of short, but yes, I have big goals.
Well, I love that. And thank you so much for sharing that, because I think that kind of wraps it up, right? Like, you focus on what you dream and you ask God for what you want, right? And he will guide you. Many of us have experienced, right? So I think that is really powerful. And I think that's what Bob is, he's letting us focus on our goal and so we can ask what we want. Because when we have so much, going different directions, then, we don't know what we want to focus on, and we can't ask God we can, but if you focus on what you want, then you can move forward with that. Right. So, I know we're at times, up here. So I think even just moving forward in your dreams and writing down with your dream, what is your big dream? Where do you want to focus at? And why you want to focus on that. So if you want to give a $5,000, why do you want to give $5,000? And what is the fear that goes around that, right? And what does it look like, so that you can go dig deeper, go Grand Canyon on that, right? And so focusing and moving forward. And I'm just going to point out on page 223 is in the back of the book. And there's some questions that he refers to in each part of the book. And if you haven't been to the back of the book yet, this is a great place to kind of, when you're diving Grand Canyon, to ask yourself. So on 223 is the last question in part 2. And it starts off, this is a hard question, but I have to ask. And it kind of goes, making sure that this is right. Like making sure that this is what you want to do. And he's got some more questions even before that, that help you kind of dig a little deeper. So I'll end with that, and I know that we're at time up. So Pam, if you want to give us a close, and thank you for sharing all your stories, because it really resonates with me and inspires me as well. So I think it makes a big difference on sharing. I appreciate you all sharing.
Yeah, thanks, Nicole. And thanks, everybody. We had a little more involvement from you guys this week. And did you like that? We're reading less of the book, but I think we kind of know the concepts, and we can help encourage each other through our relationships and through what we're doing. And I think that's okay too. We can all read in books, and you can all buy the study guide and do all that. But when you start getting down some of these side paths that seem like they're off the schedule, so to speak, we have to know that this is exactly what's supposed to be happening. And this is where there's growth in there. And I think that's just, even enhances our time together even more. And I'm so happy to know all of you. You've all blessed my life. That's why I invited you here. But I mean, it's just like so good. It's just gold. This is gold time. So I'm so blessed by all of you. So we want to close our session today by asking God to please pray for all of our dreams. We pray together that we acknowledge everyone's dreams, especially those that seem overwhelming and impossible. We ask you, God, that you give us wisdom to discern which big dreams will have the greatest impact on others, which ones will fulfill our purpose, and which ones will reveal your love to the most people. And we ask that you be with us this week as we dig deeper. We really hone in on identifying those dreams and start on our path toward those. Help to be with us and help us take those first steps. We ask all this in your name. Amen. I love you guys. I think it's just so fun to be here with you. And I'm sad that this book thing only has 5 meetings. Anyway, for next week, we're going to read. The assignment is chapters 19 through 24. I believe it's parts 4 and 5. So for you on the Audible, it's 19 through 24. And you who don't have the book, to get those questions that Nicole was talking about, I've been taking pictures of those pages and putting them in the Facebook, really trying to enhance your experience during between our sessions. And there are some in between session stuff that I'll post after today. That you can continue to, be sculpting your piece of clay. I feel like we all have a piece of clay here. We're going to mold it into this beautiful piece of pottery of what we are going to be. There's so much in store for us in life. And I'm so glad that this stuff is helping us stay positive, helping us live in our faith, and helping us feel fulfilled in our days. And there's brightness on the horizon for all of us. And I just want to pour that positivity into you guys, because we are blessed with a lifestyle that most people never, ever experience. And we get immune to that because that becomes our new normal of living. And that inspires me to continue to reach out to other people because they don't have this.
Yeah.
And the world
I mean,
needs more.
Just to have the access to the products is
Yeah.
hard for people.
Mhm.
They don't
Yeah.
have enough money.
So thank you everyone for being here, and have a good week, and we'll see you next week. And invite your friends. They can catch up.
Invite the White House. You've got their number.
Call
Yeah.
someone famous.
The president. Thank you so much for the leaders, Pam and Suzanne and
We love it.
Thank
Nicole. It's
you.
really wonderful.
Thank
I'm
you
loving the book.
all. Have a fabulous week. Hold your book close by. There's lots of good stuff in there. It's still coming. So we'll see you guys.
Thanks, ladies. Bye.